The lights of Buckingham Palace shimmered brighter than ever this year, but behind the glitter, something was different. For decades, the Christmas reception has been a symbol of royal tradition, a carefully choreographed display of stability and strength. Yet this year, whispers spread through the palace halls, long before the first guests arrived. Someone unexpected would be stepping into the spotlight. That someone was Princess Catherine. As the palace gates opened, cameras flashed and headlines exploded. Kate Middleton takes over royal Christmas duties. The announcement stunned even longtime royal watchers. Princess Anne, often described as the monarchy's hardest worker, had quietly stepped aside. And now, the future queen was preparing to host one of the most prestigious events of the royal calendar, an honor typically reserved for senior royals with decades of service. But this wasn't just a scheduling change. Behind Catherine's poised smile lay a story of transformation, one that spoke volumes about the monarchy's future. King Charles's health had kept him out of several high-profile appearances, fueling speculation about the pace of his recovery and the quiet reshuffling of royal responsibilities taking place behind closed doors. Still, what truly caught the public's attention wasn't the king's absence, it was Catherine's presence. The once reluctant royal, who had spent years carefully balancing duty and privacy, was now front and center, radiating quiet confidence. As she greeted diplomats and dignitaries in the palace's glittering halls, the message was clear. A new generation was rising. The monarchy wasn't fading, it was evolving. But was this dazzling evening really just about Christmas cheer, or was it the first glimpse of a carefully planned royal transition already in motion? For decades, Princess Anne has been the monarchy's unsung powerhouse, the royal who never sought the spotlight but carried more weight than almost anyone else. Known for her non-nonsense attitude and tireless commitment, Anne has attended more royal engagements each year than nearly every other family member combined. So when word spread that she wouldn't be leading this year's Christmas reception, jaws dropped across the royal circuit. This was no small change. The Christmas reception is more than a party. It's a symbol of the monarchy's rhythm, a yearly moment when tradition and diplomacy intertwine under the palace chandeliers. For Anne to step back and let Princess Catherine take the reins wasn't just a matter of convenience. It was a passing of the torch, a deliberate, symbolic shift that signaled something much larger brewing within the firm. Royal insiders quietly described it as a, quote, planned evolution. Not a sudden break, but a graceful handover, one that honors Anne's decades of service while preparing the younger generation to carry the legacy forward. Catherine's appointment was seen not as an experiment, but as a statement. The future queen is ready. Behind the scenes, the coordination was meticulous. Advisors who once answered to Princess Anne now worked closely with Catherine's team, blending old royal efficiency with her modern sensibility. Every detail, from the guest list to the decor, reflected her growing influence. Even senior courtiers admitted privately that Catherine's calm leadership had already begun to reshape the tone of palace events. But this wasn't just Catherine's win, it was Anne's wisdom. The Princess Royal has always understood that duty isn't about holding power, it's about knowing when to pass it on. Her quiet decision to step aside wasn't seen as retreat, but as an act of loyalty to the crown, to her brother the king, and to the woman who will someday wear it. As the reception approached, the palace felt different, expectant even. The Christmas lights shone brighter, the air felt charged. For the first time in decades, Buckingham Palace wasn't just hosting a royal tradition. It was witnessing the beginning of a royal transition. Just a few months ago, few could have imagined Princess Catherine standing in the grand halls of Buckingham Palace again, smiling, radiant, and in full command of one of the most prestigious events of the royal calendar. Her long absence from public life earlier in the year had sparked waves of concern and speculation around the world. When palace officials confirmed she was undergoing treatment, the words were carefully chosen, but the silence that followed spoke volumes. During those quiet months, the public saw little of her. No appearances, no speeches, no photographs.
It was as if the most beloved member of the royal family had vanished behind palace walls. And yet, rather than fading from memory, Catherine became the symbol of quiet resilience. Messages of support poured in from across the globe, with hashtags like "We Stand with Kate" trending as fans prayed for her recovery. Her eventual reappearance, first at Trooping the Colour, then at Wimbledon, was nothing short of emotional. The crowd's reaction said it all. This wasn't just a royal returning to duty, it was a woman reclaiming her strength. Every wave, every smile seemed to carry a deeper meaning, a message of endurance, grace, and quiet courage. Insiders say King Charles himself personally approved her hosting the reception, viewing it as both a gesture of trust and an acknowledgement of her growing role. Quote, "The king sees in Catherine what the public sees: grace under pressure, and the strength to carry the crown's weight with kindness." It was a comeback defined not by glamour, but by grit. And while the cameras captured her flawless smile, few knew the effort it took just to get there. The recovery, the preparation, the quiet determination to prove she was ready. For months now, whispers about King Charles's health have lingered through royal corridors and media headlines alike. Ever since the palace confirmed that the king was receiving treatment for a, quote, form of cancer, speculation hasn't stopped, even as officials assured the public that His Majesty remained, quote, fully engaged in state affairs. But behind those carefully worded statements lies a quieter truth. The king is rethinking how the monarchy operates, and it's changing everything. Charles has always been a visionary. Long before he wore the crown, he spoke of, quote, a slimmed-down monarchy, one that would rely on a smaller circle of active royals. But now, that idea has moved from theory to necessity. With his health forcing him to scale back public engagements, the king has begun what insiders call a silent succession, a gradual, graceful transfer of duties to the next generation. And at the center of that strategy is Princess Catherine. Her taking over the Christmas reception wasn't just symbolic, it was strategic. Every move, every public appearance is part of a long-term plan to ensure stability, even in moments of uncertainty. By allowing Catherine and William to step forward, Charles is showing the world that the monarchy's future is already taking shape, polished, modern, and deeply resilient. According to palace aides, the king remains closely involved behind the scenes, reading daily reports, holding private briefings, and guiding major decisions with precision. But he's also learning to do what monarchs rarely do: delegate. Where he once might have led from the front, Charles now leads through trust. Those who've seen him recently describe a man who's both reflective and determined. One royal insider told the Telegraph, quote, "His Majesty knows time is precious, not in a grim sense, but in a purposeful one. Every moment counts, and every decision must strengthen what comes next." Even his reduced schedule tells a story, not of retreat, but of recalibration. The king isn't disappearing. He's ensuring that when the crown passes one day, it lands on steady shoulders. And as Catherine takes on more visible roles, it's clear he believes those shoulders belong to her and William. This new phase, quieter, more strategic, more deliberate, is perhaps the most revealing chapter of his reign. It shows a monarch not afraid to adapt, even when faced with uncertainty.
Through every royal crisis and transition, one figure has remained unshaken: Princess Anne, the king's only sister and arguably the monarchy's most dependable workhorse. She's the royal who never complains, never seeks attention, and never fails to show up. Year after year, she's clocked more engagements than almost anyone else, often outpacing the entire family combined. So when it emerged that Anne would be stepping aside from her long-held role at the Christmas reception, it wasn't seen as a retirement. It was something deeper. Those who know her best say Anne doesn't step back unless there's a purpose behind it. And this time, that purpose was Catherine. Behind palace walls, Anne has quietly become a mentor to the future queen. She's been advising Catherine not only on protocol and scheduling, but on something far more complex: how to survive the pressures of royal life without losing yourself. As one insider told The Times, Anne's been through every storm imaginable: the scrutiny, the scandals, the exhaustion. She sees herself in Catherine, calm on the surface, but strong as steel underneath. The two women may seem different on the outside. Anne, the no-nonsense pragmatist; Catherine, the poised diplomat.
but they share a deep bond built on discipline and devotion to duty. At recent engagements, subtle signs of Anne's influence have started to show. The sharper confidence in Catherine's voice, the firm yet humble tone in her speeches, even her schedule, more structured, more ambitious, carries Anne's quiet imprint. And perhaps the most remarkable part? There's no trace of rivalry. In a family often defined by tension, Anne's support has been steadfast and genuine. She's not clinging to power. She's guiding the future with the same loyalty she's shown her brother, the king. For Anne, this handover isn't a loss, it's a legacy. She knows the monarchy can't stand still, and as she passes the torch to Catherine, it's with the assurance that it's landing in capable, compassionate hands. That's the beauty of Anne's role. She doesn't need headlines to make history. Her strength is quiet, her influence immeasurable. The grand halls of Buckingham Palace have seen centuries of opulence. Chandeliers dripping in gold, tables set with silver so polished you can see your reflection, and orchestras playing beneath painted ceilings. But this year, something felt different. This Christmas reception wasn't just another royal formality. It was a statement, a symbol of renewal, resilience, and quiet transformation. As the first guests arrived, velvet ropes parted, and the air filled with the scent of pine, cinnamon, and history. And there she stood, Princess Catherine, radiant in emerald silk, greeting dignitaries and diplomats with her signature warmth. Cameras flashed, but Catherine's focus never wavered. Every handshake, every smile, every conversation carried the weight of purpose and the grace of gratitude. This wasn't about glamour, it was about grace, about showing the world that even after illness, uncertainty, and the shifting sands of royal responsibility, the heart of the monarchy still beats strong. The event's theme, insiders revealed, was harmony through heritage. It was Catherine's idea, a subtle but powerful nod to unity in a time when Britain and its monarchy have faced division. Each detail reflected her touch. Locally sourced flowers from royal estates, honoring sustainability, a tribute to King Charles's eco-conscious vision. Music by children's choirs, celebrating innocence and renewal. Invited guests not just from high society, but from charities Catherine personally supports, from mental health advocates to early childhood educators. Royal experts noted how the evening captured the balance between tradition and transformation, something Catherine has mastered with quiet precision. Even veteran palace staff admitted the atmosphere felt lighter, more human, less about ceremony, more about connection. King Charles watched from a distance, proud, reflective, and visibly moved. What began as a delegation born from necessity had turned into a display of continuity and confidence. It was as if Catherine wasn't just hosting Christmas, she was hosting the future of the crown. And somewhere in the corner, Princess Anne observed with a knowing smile, the mentor watching her student soar. The passing of the torch, once subtle and symbolic, now shimmered in every gesture, every toast, every carol that filled the air. By the end of the night, as the final notes of O Holy Night faded beneath the palace dome, it was clear this was more than a reception. It was a resurrection, a testament to endurance, empathy, and evolution within an ancient institution. Behind the golden doors of Buckingham Palace, away from the clinking glasses and festive laughter, something deeper is unfolding. A quiet recalibration of royal power. What looks like a glittering Christmas reception on the surface is in truth a carefully choreographed message. The monarchy is changing. For centuries, royal strength was measured in formality, processions, titles, and protocol. But under King Charles III, and now increasingly through Princess Catherine, the crown's strength is being redefined through empathy, accessibility, and symbolic continuity. The king knows the modern public doesn't just want regal spectacle, they want relevance. And entrusting Catherine with this major event proves one thing. The monarchy's future lies not in rigid hierarchy, but in shared stewardship. Insiders whisper that this wasn't merely a Christmas gesture, it was a trial run. A soft test for how the monarchy could function if Charles, due to ongoing health challenges, begins to scale back his public role. Catherine's success here signals she's not just the face of the future, she's part of the present leadership structure. Her composure under pressure, her connection with the public, her modern warmth, all of it builds trust where tradition alone no longer can. But this transition isn't without tension. Behind palace walls, courtiers debate what this means for Prince William's rise. With Catherine stepping forward so prominently, William's position subtly evolves, from heir apparent to partner in a modernized monarchy. Together they're crafting a new blueprint, a royal family that feels less like an institution and more like an example. Even Princess Anne's quiet mentorship reflects the inner dynamics of this new era. Her passing the torch wasn't just out of affection, it was strategic. She knows the monarchy's survival depends on fresh energy and authentic connection, something Catherine naturally embodies. The Queen's wisdom, Anne's discipline, and Charles's idealism all seem to converge in the Princess of Wales. Publicly, this might look like a smooth, glittering occasion, but within those velvet-draped corridors, advisors are keenly aware. Every event, every appearance, every subtle shift in hosting duties marks another step in preparing for the monarchy's next phase. The Christmas reception, in its quiet way, became a mirror, reflecting how far the royals have come from the rigid formality of the past. It showed a monarchy willing to evolve, to delegate, and to trust a new generation with its most sacred traditions. And perhaps that's the real story here. Not a festive gala, but a changing guard. A dynasty learning to survive in the modern times not through spectacle or scandal, but through grace, empathy, and the courage to pass the torch when the moment is right. Because in that shimmering December night, beneath chandeliers and carols, a new chapter began. One not just for the Princess of Wales, but for a monarchy learning to shine again.